Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Irene. Today, I will present to you my presentation about image of the child. So this is the overview of my presentation. First, I'll talk about my image of the child and childhood. Then I'll discuss about my reflection of image of the child. And then I'll also elaborate my implications and strategies that could support my image of the child. And then lastly, I'll discuss the current image of the child. There are millions of different images of the child, and each person has their own way of viewing them. So my image of the child reflect upon children as being creative, explorative, and future holders. Although each child is knowledgeable, it is important to consider each child's reality that comes with relationship and experience. The same as adults, when they step their foot into the door, they brought pieces from home such as happiness, sadness, hopes, stresses from life, which will affect the interaction between each other. Children are creative as they grow comfortable with uncertainty. Something might start to grow inside of them, and adults need to be flexible where plans might need to change and go with the moment. Secondly, the image of the child that I hold is children are interactive and communicative. All children have the rights to be happy and socialize with one another, as well as having human interaction is essential for them to develop their social and emotional skill. Even newborn may not interact with words, but are possible to communicate with their cues and body language. An educator should enjoy building relationship and work together with children are crucial. It is not about intervening where children are enjoying the interaction with other children, but providing spaces for them to interact and comes to provide guidance when they need it. The third, the image of the child that I believe in is that each child has their own strength, capabilities, and interests that construct who they are and their childhood. Childhood plays a big role in adult life, and draw the children out of desperate situations means having the child in the right state of mind to grow and develop their learning to an embryo adult. Letting children to be themselves and not setting a benchmark that might limit their growth instead of making goals that occupy each child need from them to succeed with their strengths and ability. Lastly, I view children as unique, knowledgeable, and different, as they bring something apart of school of them to school that educators should embrace. It is necessary for educators to keep in mind that their childhood is not only education and school that encourages children to be healthy and happy. Alongside the expectation given to the teacher, high quality of learning should exist in early childhood setting with experiences that children could learn and take advantage of their resources with little intervention. The view of children as creative and knowledgeable beings reflects upon the early years learning framework, where the goal is set to develop children's confidence and creativity through education. This goal impacts the early childhood education setting, which affects my pedagogical belief that are in line with the theory by Piaget that calls children little researchers. Piaget mentioned that if adults are supplying children with all the information without them finding out by themselves, it's not building their knowledge. Through their senses and curiosity, children could form concrete learning and build upon their knowledge. In the 21st century, it is recognized that creativity is essential within the education setting. Over time, creativity emerges to children as their personal trait, environment, as well as of their cultural identity, as this links with the main sociocultural theories of creativity as a process that plays a big part in children's lives and grow in a period with the child. Second, Edward Tronick's still face experiment is evident that perfectly illustrate how children at an early age were able to communicate with their caregivers and produce cues, which leads to my image of the child that they are interactive and communicative. Although this experiment should not be done at children as it triggers stress, this experience show that the infant withdraws when the caregiver become non-responsive and expressionless mother. This experiment also shows how Maggie the baby is trying so hard to get her mother attention back to continue being available and play with her. A seminar by Professor Loris Malaguzzi mentioned that communication interactions between children and educator is critical. Malaguzzi stated that children enjoy communicating with the educator and other children, result in them stretching their capacities and intelligence, which relates effectively with my view that children are interactive and communicative. Coming from the strength-based approach portrays children apart from their problem, however, views the situation realistically and seeking opportunities to complement and support the existing strengths and capabilities which direct my image of the child. This approach understands children's learning is complex and view childhood holistically, working on what present and write about things that work for the child, which impact my pedagogical belief on how to regulate in early learning service. This image also linked with the early years learning framework, where I identify the children's strength and interest for them to engage in the learning. Lastly, my view on each child is unique, knowledgeable, and different is in contrast with my own experience at an early age, where each child is expected to strive and go at the same pace as the whole class. Children are praised for acing maths or spelling tests at the age of 3 years old, and not because of how creative their painting or their drawing is, as well as not because who they are aside from their expectations set by the community. One of the early childhood perspectives that also drive this image is philosophy led by Reggio Emilia that guides the educator to recognize and listen to each child's interests and ideas as an individual. My image of the child is also viewing children as knowledgeable beings who are in line with Reggio Emilia's perspective and have a planned yet flexible curriculum based on the children's response. Moving on to the implication and strategies, there is a range of strategies and pedagogical practices that enhance children's creativity and exploration, which include providing an ethical and socio-cultural learning environment. Through this environment, children could feel safe, secure, and respectful since children and adults learn from each other. Children were also expected to respond positively with enthusiasm and exploration to the learning provided in diverse environment. Apart from the environment, it is also important for the educator to plan a purposeful play that will provide children the space to explore, imagine, and do constructive play to scaffold their own learning. Intentional teaching will enrich children's creative minds with an authentic learning experience that will challenge and provide an issue that requires children to use their critical skills, such as asking children to lead the discussion about the characteristic of animal or read a picture book through the picture, and many more. Through viewing children as creative, explorative, and as future holders, educators could challenge children by asking big questions as they are empowered and feel supported and safe to express their ideas in the early childhood setting. Interaction between children and their surrounding, which include their family and community, are very important as they explore their diverse home backgrounds and experiences that differ from one person to another. When teachers understand how important an interactive, communicative child is, they need to validate the child's feelings, help children to express their emotion in words, being aware of their emotion and recognize their expression as it might be an opportunity for teaching and build a trustful relationship. This is a turning point where early childhood setting is usually in a rush, following routines and going through the agenda. However, interactions require time and patiently to really get inside the child and build the interaction together. Other implication could be applied for children to communicate, including retelling a simple story with the support of picture through music and movement, dance and drama, as well as using ICTs to view and listen to the communication technology in the room. Children are viewed as having their own strengths and capabilities that will be supported as part of their learning. The implications of the learning are to always involve play, as it is essential to stimulate children's intellectual alongside other abilities such as physical, social, and creative skills. In addition, an active engagement with children and attuned to their play will extend and supply their learning and developmental areas. A responsive learning relationship will strengthen the relationship between educator and children as they learn together, respect each other, trust, and share decisions. When thinking of children as capable, supporting children with the agency through involving them in decision making will help them increase their confidence level and effectiveness as communicators. Promoting agency in their learning environment enables children to make decisions that influence their world and provide children the opportunity to make their choices that comes with circumstances that will be welcome and accepted. Reflecting upon quality area 1, providing children the opportunity to set their goals in their learning as well as learning to co-research with the educators show that they are capable and owning their own learning. Lastly, children are unique and knowledgeable. There are implications that could support children to listening to their voices and support their opinion. When appreciating children for their uniqueness and consider their knowledge, education should interpret and reflect on the big ideas given by children and translate them to simple language to facilitate shared understanding among children with the educator and in the group. The curriculum could emphasize projects based on children's interests where their interests and questions are recognized, as well as developing a concrete hands-on experience that recognize the process of their thoughts and knowledge rather than final product. Adapting from theory by Rogoff, when children are knowledgeable, give children the opportunity to contribute to the real world through real works that could be implemented in the early childhood setting, such as cleaning, gardening, cooking, will challenge the children and add more knowledge for them. So the first image portrays children as a child who has the full ability to create their maps for their own social, cognitive, and nature orientation. The children in the image were eager and focused on what they were doing and investigating nature through sensory as well as feeling the texture of the land. The purpose of the image is to show the connectedness of children with nature and the space that invites open-ended discovery, exploration, interactions, and connection with nature. The children also look present and work together with their friends to investigate the same thing on the ground. The image mirrors my view of the child, where children should be out and about, engaging and interacting with nature and learn life skills from nature. Reflecting upon Danish forest kindergarten, where children learn in the forest in all season, it was explained that these children have no problem with their literacy skill nor numeracy. Learning outdoors fosters children appreciation of natural environment and awareness of nature. So the second image portrayed children as knowledgeable and independent researchers, as they were looking into the books with several texts and colored picture books on them in a school setting. Two of the children looked like they were preschool-age children, and from the expression drawn on their face, they looked interested in dinosaurs. The purpose of the image interprets children's readiness to school, as it is a crucial stage of their life where the challenges lies in the transition from early childhood setting to big school. Children in this image look active, competent, and critical children in investigating the book. The child on the left-hand side looked like he was pointing to the text and reading the words. On the other hand, the child on the right was observing the characteristics of dinosaur, and both seemed to be comfortable in their environment. The picture matched the image of the child that I hold, as every children is knowledgeable and able to construct their own knowledge in many ways. There are also interactions in the image that show that children could learn together from each other as well as share the same interests with their peers. And that is it for today's presentation. Thank you for listening.